You are experiencing a specific type of tightness in your solar plexus right now. It is a physical sensation, a localized pressure that feels like a clenched fist sitting just beneath your ribcage. You are working harder than you have ever worked in your life. Your mental RPM is redlining. You are strategizing, you are visualizing, and you are pouring every ounce of your intent into a new future. Yet when you open your eyes and look at your physical reality, it has ground to a complete, absolute halt. Nothing is moving. The emails aren't coming in. The opportunities have dried up. The money is stagnant. You feel like you are screaming underwater, expending maximum effort for zero acoustic result. You are beginning to panic because you interpret this stillness as failure. You think the universe has rejected your request. You are wrong. You are not failing. You are not blocked. You are experiencing a fundamental law of thermodynamics known as latent heat. In physics, latent heat is defined as the energy absorbed or released by a substance during a change in its physical state that occurs without changing its temperature. Read that again. Energy is absorbed without changing the temperature. You are currently in the gap between the liquid state and the gas state. You are adding massive amounts of heat, your effort, your focus, your desire. But the thermometer of your external reality is not moving. It looks like nothing is happening. But deep in the molecular structure of your life, the bonds of your old reality are being shattered to prepare for a phase transition. You aren't stuck. You are buffering. And if you understand the physics of this moment, you will realize that this unbearable pressure is not a sign to stop. It is the only sign that matters. It means you are about to enter your active phase. You clicked this video because you feel the rupture coming. You can feel the structural integrity of your old life groaning under the weight of a new energy that hasn't quite broken through yet. You are tired of the spiritual platitudes telling you to trust divine timing. You want the mechanics. You want to know why you are exhausted from doing nothing. You want to know why the harder you push, the slower the world seems to move. We are going to strip away the mysticism and look at the engineering of your situation. We are going to treat your life not as a story, but as a closed thermodynamic system. By the end of this hour, you will not only understand the pressure, you will know how to increase it. You will stop trying to vent the steam and start building the engine. Let's look at the heating curve of water. This is a standard experiment in any thermodynamics lab, and it maps perfectly onto your current psychological state. Imagine a block of ice at -20 degrees. You apply a flame. This flame is your ambition. It is your desire for change. As you apply heat, the temperature rises linearly. -10. 0. The ice melts into water. You keep applying heat. The water gets warmer. 20 degrees, 50 degrees, 80 degrees. At this stage, everything makes sense. Input equals output. You work a little harder, you see a little result. You apply heat, the temperature rises. This is how we are taught the world works. Linear correlation. But then you hit the boiling point, you hit the threshold. In water, this is 100 degrees Celsius. You are still applying the flame. In fact, you are applying more heat now than ever before. But if you look at the thermometer, it stops moving. It flatlines. You are pouring energy into the system, but the temperature is not rising by a single degree. To the naked eye, the water looks exactly the same at the beginning of this minute as it does at the end. This is the plateau of latent heat. This is where you are right now. This is the danger zone where 99% of people quit. They look at the thermometer of their bank account, their relationship status, or their career progress, and they see a flat line. They scream at the universe, "I am doing the work. I am applying the heat. Why isn't the temperature rising?" They assume the physics is broken. They assume they are broken, so they turn off the flame. They walk away right at the moment of maximum absorption. What they don't understand, and what you must understand right now, is where that energy is going. When the temperature stops rising, the energy is no longer being used to increase the kinetic speed of the water molecules. Instead, that energy is being diverted entirely to break the intermolecular bonds that hold the water together as a liquid. The energy is not lost. It is being used to shatter the structure of the old state so that the new state, steam, can be born. Steam takes up 1,600 times more volume than liquid water. To become that expansive, To have that level of impact and velocity, the old bonds must be completely severed. You are in the bond-breaking phase. The reason you see no external results is that every ounce of your current effort is being consumed by the internal destruction of your old identity. The stagnation you feel is the energy doing its work on the inside, severing the emotional, neurological, and behavioral chains that kept you in your liquid state. If the external world were moving right now, it would actually be a distraction. It would mean the heat was leaking out instead of breaking the bonds. The silence of your reality is proof that the system is sealed and the efficiency is at 100%. Consider the physical toll this takes on you. There is a specific type of exhaustion that comes from this phase, and I know you are feeling it. It is the burnout without work. You wake up tired. You haven't run a marathon. You haven't built a house. You might have spent the entire day sitting on your couch, staring at a wall, or scrolling through your phone in a paralysis of anxiety. Yet your body aches as if you have been in a street fight. You feel heavy. Your limbs feel like lead. This confuses you because you equate exhaustion with motion. You think, I shouldn't be tired, I haven't done anything. Incorrect. You are doing the heaviest lifting of your existence. Phase transitions are metabolically expensive. Breaking the quantum bonds of your reality requires more caloric and energetic output than simply moving objects around in that reality. Your brain is consuming massive amounts of glucose to process the rewrite of your neural architecture. Your nervous system is vibrating at a frequency that is invisible to the eye but taxing on the flesh. You are burning up from the inside out. The lethargy you feel is not laziness, it is the cost of latent heat. Your system has diverted all resources from the extremities, from doing, to the core, to becoming. You are in power save mode externally because you are in overdrive internally. There is a cruel paradox here, one that breaks the weak. It is the hurry up and wait syndrome. Internally, you feel a sense of extreme urgency. You feel that you are running out of time. You feel that something massive is about to happen, and you need to be ready yesterday. This internal velocity creates a vibration of anxiety that is almost unbearable. Yet externally, the world is moving in slow motion. People take days to reply to simple messages. Projects that should take an hour take a week. The traffic lights seem to be red longer. This friction between your internal velocity and external viscosity is designed to drive you mad. But it is not madness. It is mechanics. Think of a steam engine. A steam engine does not work by letting the water boil in an open pot. If you boil water in an open pot, the steam rises, dissipates into the air, and achieves nothing. It becomes humidity. It is wasted potential. For steam to do work, for it to drive a locomotive or turn a turbine, it must be contained. You must put a lid on the vessel. You must seal the exits. When you trap the boiling water, the pressure builds. The molecules scream for release. They bounce off the walls of the container with terrifying force. The pressure gauge climbs into the red. This is what you are experiencing. The stuckness of your life is the container. The silence of the phone is the seal. The lack of opportunities is the lid. Life has sealed you into a pressure vessel because it is trying to turn you into an engine, not a humidifier. The pressure you feel, that anxiety, that tightness in the chest, that desire to scream, is the accumulation of pounds per square inch. It is raw power looking for a vector. Most people feel this pressure and immediately try to relieve it. They call a friend and complain for hours. They drink. They distract themselves with cheap dopamine. They try to vent the steam. They say, I just need to take the edge off. When you take the edge off, you lower the pressure. You lower the temperature. You drop back down below the boiling point. You rebond into liquid water. You feel better temporarily, but you have lost the potential for propulsion. You have vented your fuel. If you want to enter the active phase, the phase of high velocity, high impact reality creation, you must learn to hold the pressure. You must learn to sit in the thermal bath of latent heat and let it rise without cracking the vessel. You must look at the stagnation of your life and recognize it as the thick steel walls of a boiler that is preparing to launch a piston. The lack of movement is not an absence of energy, it is the accumulation of critical mass. If you have felt this specific pressure building in your chest, if you have felt the heat rising while your life stands still, I want you to hit the like button right now. Do not do it for the algorithm. Do it as a physical acknowledgement of your state. By clicking like, you are marking this moment. You are telling your subconscious, I am not broken. I am pressurizing. You are accepting the contract of the flashpoint. Because the flashpoint is coming. The flashpoint is the exact microsecond where latent heat overcomes atmospheric pressure. It is the moment the water flashes into steam instantly. It is explosive. It is irreversible. Once water becomes steam, it does not easily go back. It occupies a new volume. It moves at a new speed. The laws that govern the liquid no longer apply to the gas. You are approaching this threshold. The danger of this phase is not that nothing is happening. The danger is that you will misinterpret the silence as abandonment and sabotage the process just before the flash. You will try to force a door open that is currently locked for your protection. You will try to run when you are supposed to be boiling. You must understand that the active phase isn't something you go out and find. It is something you become. It is a state change, not a location change. You have spent years, maybe decades, operating as liquid water. You have flowed around obstacles. You have taken the path of least resistance. You have filled whatever cup was handed to you. That era is over. Steam does not flow around obstacles. It moves engines that smash through them. Steam does not fill a cup. It powers a machine. But to become steam, you must endure the heat. You must endure the plateau. You must endure the invisible boil where you feel like you are dying, but you are actually just being born. The tightness in your chest is the gauge. As long as it is tight, the pressure is holding. As long as you are uncomfortable, the process is working. We are going to stop fighting the physics and start leveraging them. We are going to stop wishing for the pressure to go away and start asking how much more we can hold. Because the capacity to hold pressure determines the magnitude of the release. You are not a bomb waiting to destroy yourself. You are an engine waiting for the valve to open. And the valve opens when, and only when, the pressure is high enough to justify the movement. Let's look at the physics of why your life feels like it has flatlined, despite your exhaustion. We need to strip away the spiritual fluff and look at the hard data of thermodynamics. Specifically, we need to look at the heating curve of water. Visualize a graph. On the bottom you have time. On the side you have temperature. If we take a block of ice at 20 degrees and apply fire to it, the line on the graph goes up. You add heat, the temperature rises. This is called sensible heat. It makes sense. You put in effort, you see a result. Input equals output. But then, something strange happens at exactly 0 degrees Celsius. The line on the graph goes flat. Dead flat. You are still applying fire. You are still pouring in massive amounts of energy. But the temperature stops rising. The ice is not getting hotter, even though the flame is on full blast. This is the plateau of latent heat. Latent comes from the Latin word for hidden. This is where you are right now. In this phase, the energy you are expending is not being used to increase the temperature of your life. It is not being used to give you new money, new relationships, or new visible results. Instead, that energy is being consumed entirely by WISO, phase transition. At the molecular level, the water molecules in ice are locked in a rigid crystal lattice. They are vibrating, but they are trapped. The heat you are pouring in right now is doing the violent, invisible work of shattering those bonds. It is structural destruction. If you looked at the pot during this phase, it looks like nothing is happening. But microscopically, it is a war zone. This is the scientific explanation for your current reality. You are working harder than you ever have. You are visualizing, you are strategizing, you are pushing. And yet the external thermometer of your life hasn't budged a single degree. When you are late at night, typing into a search bar, feeling stuck in life, you are not describing a failure. You are documenting your coordinates on the plateau of latent heat. You aren't stuck, you are buffering. The stuckness is the energy cost of breaking the bond of your old identity. If the temperature were rising, you would just be a hotter version of your old self. You would be warm ice. But you don't want to be warm ice. You want to become water. You want to become steam. And to change states, the external metrics must stop moving so the internal structure can be rearranged. This leads us to the thermodynamic flashpoint. This is the precise nanosecond when the accumulated latent heat finally overcomes the atmospheric pressure holding you down. It is the moment the water boils. The flashpoint has 3 specific characteristics that you need to understand, or you will misinterpret the signs and quit right before the rupture. First, it is irreversible. Once water becomes steam, it occupies 600 times more volume than it did as a liquid. It cannot fit back into the old container. When you hit your flashpoint, you won't just improve your life. You will explode out of it. You will become too big for your current job, your current relationship dynamics, and your current city. It is a one-way door. Second, it is explosive. Phase transitions do not happen gradually. The heating is gradual. The shift is instant. You don't kind of boil. You are either liquid or you are gas. This is why your gradual improvements aren't working. You are looking for a slope, but physics demands a step function. Third, and most dangerous, it has a silent precursor. Water at 201 degrees Fahrenheit looks exactly the same as water at 100 degrees. There is no visual difference between cold and stagnant and 1 degree away from explosive power. This is where the psychological torture comes in. You feel the pressure. You feel the heat. But because the surface is still, your brain screams that you are failing, and this is where 99% of people fail. They trigger one of 2 fatal errors just before the boil. Fatal error. Number 1. Premature venting. The pressure inside you is uncomfortable. It feels like anxiety. It feels like a tightness in the solar plexus. The human instinct is to relieve this pressure. So you vent. You call a friend and tell them all about your big new plan. You post about your new journey on social media. You talk about the work you are going to do. It feels good, doesn't it? The anxiety drops. The pressure releases. But in thermodynamics, pressure is proportional to temperature. When you vent the steam before the engine is ready, you are releasing the very energy that was about to cause the phase shift. You open the lid of the pot. The temperature drops back to 90 degrees. You feel better, but you have reset the clock. You just killed the flashpoint to buy yourself a moment of comfort. Fatal error number 2. The cooling down trap. Modern spirituality has lied to you. It has told you that peace is the ultimate goal. So, when you feel this intense, vibrating heat of the latent phase, you think something is wrong. You think, I'm too stressed, I need to align my chakras, I need to calm down. You meditate to lower your heart rate. You take a vacation to decompress. Do not misunderstand me. Rest is vital for recovery. But cooling down is fatal for propulsion. If you take the pot off the stove every time it starts to simmer because the bubbles scare you, it will never boil. You are trying to cure the very symptom that indicates you are winning. That anxiety, that vibration, that isn't pathology. That is horsepower. You are interpreting high voltage energy as stress. It is not stress. It is load. Think of a sealed pressure vessel, a boiler in a steam engine. If you want that engine to pull a train, you need the pressure inside to be dangerously high. If the vessel is weak, it ruptures. If the vessel is strong, it converts that terror into torque. The paradigm shift you need to make right now is not about finding happiness. It is about shifting your metric from comfort to capacity. Old belief. I want to feel good and relaxed. New truth. I want to increase my structural integrity so I can hold higher pressures without cracking. The active phase you are asking for, the life where you are moving fast, achieving high output, and dominating your field, is a high-pressure system. If you cannot handle the heat of the stuck phase, you will be crushed by the velocity of the active phase. The stagnation you are feeling is not a punishment. It is the pressure test. The universe is pressurizing the vessel to see if you are a bomb or an engine. A bomb explodes and destroys itself. An engine contains the explosion and drives a piston. The difference between the two is the strength of the container. You are currently in the containment chamber. The heat is rising. The needle is flatlining. The silence is deafening. Do not vent. Do not cool down. Hold the line. You are 1 degree away from the flashpoint. Let's look at exactly what happens when the valve finally opens. Here is the script for Block 3. Paradigm shift, the great revelation. Everything you have been told about getting unstuck is a lie. The self-help world tells you that movement equals progress. They tell you to take massive action. They tell you to force the door open. They tell you to fake it until you make it. But if you are in the thermodynamic phase we just described, taking action is the single most destructive thing you can do. If you have a pot of water on the stove and you want to drive a steam engine, what happens if you take the lid off to check the progress? You lose everything. The heat escapes. The pressure drops. The water stops boiling. You are back to zero. This brings us to the great revelation of your current state. It is called the law of containment. You are not stuck. You are sealed. There is a massive physical difference between a wall and a containment field. A wall stops you because you are weak. A containment field stops you because you are building something that would tear a normal vessel apart. Think of a rocket engine, or even a simple garden hose. If the water flows out the end without restriction, it has volume but it has no velocity. It falls limp to the ground. But what happens when you put your thumb over the opening? You restrict the flow. You create a barrier. You create stuckness. And suddenly that lazy stream turns into a high-velocity jet that can cut through dirt. The restriction didn't stop the flow. The restriction accelerated it. This is exactly where you are right now. The stagnation you feel in your career, the silence in your relationships, the absolute refusal of your reality to budge, that is not a blockade. That is the nozzle. That is the thermodynamic containment required to turn your potential energy into kinetic velocity. You have been trying to remove the thumb from the hose because the pressure feels uncomfortable. You have been praying for the restriction to end. You have been asking the universe, why is nothing moving? Physics has the answer. Nothing is moving because you are currently being engineered for speed, not comfort. If you understand this, the sensation in your body changes immediately. You aren't depressed, you aren't lazy, and you certainly aren't broken. You are witnessing the accumulation of unassigned kinetic energy. Let's look at your anxiety. Really look at it. Society labels anxiety as a pathology, a malfunction, something to be medicated or meditated away. But in the context of the flashpoint, anxiety is simply horsepower that hasn't been put into gear yet. Imagine a Ferrari sitting in a driveway. You put the transmission in neutral and you slam the gas pedal to the floor. The engine screams. The tachometer hits the red line. The chassis vibrates violently. There is heat. There is noise. There is terror. But the car hasn't moved an inch. Is the car broken? No. The car is generating massive potential energy. It is vibrating because the energy is contained. You feel like you are vibrating out of your skin. You are sitting on your couch, staring at a wall, but internally, you feel like you are running a marathon. You are exhausted by doing nothing. That is the engine revving in neutral. The mistake you make is thinking that because the car isn't moving, the engine must be broken. So you try to turn the engine off. You try to calm down. You try to fix the anxiety. Stop it. The anxiety is the fuel. The vibration is the sign that the pressure vessel is holding. The moment you shift into the active phase, the moment the flashpoint hits, all that bad anxiety instantly converts into good velocity. It doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes the force that pushes you forward. This creates a paradox that separates the masters from the amateurs. The law of containment. To build the steam pressure required for a massive life shift, you must be willing to endure the pressure of the void. Have you noticed that the world has gone quiet? Maybe your phone used to ring all day and now it doesn't. Maybe you used to have endless social invites and now you have none. Maybe you send emails and they vanish into a black hole. It feels like you are screaming in a soundproof room. It feels like rejection. It is not rejection. It is insulation. A steam boiler must be insulated. If it leaks heat to the outside world, the water never boils. The universe has isolated you to prevent you from leaking your energy into people and projects that cannot handle your next phase. If you were busy right now, you would be leaking steam. If you were happy and comfortable right now, you would be venting pressure. The void is the seal. It is keeping the heat inside the system so the phase change can occur. You have been fighting the silence. You have been trying to fill the void with distractions, with noise, with old friends who don't understand you anymore. Stop leaking. Let the pressure build. We need to shift your methodology from pushing to pressurizing. The old you operated on mechanical effort. This is like trying to move a car by getting out and pushing it from the bumper. It is heavy. It is slow. It hurts. And the moment you stop pushing, the car stops moving. This is how you have lived your entire life up until now. Grinding. The new you, the kinetic vessel, operates on thermodynamic pressure. You sit in the driver's seat. You do not push the car. You burn the fuel. You let the pressure build inside the cylinder until the piston is forced to move by the laws of physics. When steam expands, it doesn't try to move the train. It doesn't need motivation. It doesn't need a vision board. It expands because it has no choice. The explosion is inevitable. This is the shift from, I need to find motivation, to, I need to direct this explosion. So here is the question you need to ask yourself right now. It might be the most important question of your life. What if the stuckness you hate is actually the only thing saving you? What if the universe loves you too much to let you move forward as liquid water? What if it is holding you in the fire, holding the lid down, ignoring your screams for comfort, because it is waiting for you to become steam? You have been identifying as the procrastinator or the failure because you are judging your external speed. But a pot of water at 211 degrees looks exactly the same as a pot of water at 70 degrees. It is still flat water, but one requires a tiny fraction of a degree to turn into a locomotive. The other is just soup. You are at 211 degrees. You are vibrating. You are uncomfortable. You are pressurized. Do not vent the steam. Do not take the lid off. Do not apologize for the heat. You are not waiting. You are pressurizing, and the explosion is coming. How do you distinguish between a genuine thermodynamic flashpoint and simple stagnation? How do you know you are on the verge of an active phase and not just spiraling into laziness? Your mind is currently trying to convince you that you are broken. It is looking for evidence of failure. But physics provides a different diagnostic. If you look closely at your reality right now, you will find 3 specific markers. These are not punishments. They are mechanical feedback loops indicating that the pressure in your vessel has reached critical mass. The first marker is the entropy spike. This is the most counterintuitive sign of all, and it usually causes people to quit right before the breakthrough. Here is the physics. As you aggressively organize your internal world, crystallizing your intent and focusing your energy, you displace disorder into your external environment. Thermodynamics dictates that entropy, disorder in a closed system, must go somewhere. Because you are creating extreme order inside, chaos temporarily erupts outside to balance the equation. You will see this manifest as bizarre, highly specific technological and logistical failures. You wake up ready to work, and your internet goes down. You finally have the energy to go to the gym, and your car battery dies. An appointment you've waited months for gets canceled last minute. It feels like reality is conspiring against you. It feels like a stop sign. It is not a stop sign. It is the sonic boom. Think of a fighter jet approaching the sound barrier. As the plane nears Mach 1, the air pressure waves build up in front of it. The cockpit shakes violently. The controls feel unresponsive. It is chaotic and terrifying. But the pilot knows this turbulence isn't a sign that the plane is falling apart. It is the physical evidence that the plane is about to punch through the density of the atmosphere. If your technology, your schedule, or your appliances have gone haywire this week, do not panic. You are shaking the atmosphere. You are displacing entropy because your internal velocity is increasing. If you have experienced this specific type of mechanical chaos recently, I want you to verify the data. Go to the comments and type entropy spike. Acknowledge that this chaos is not bad luck. It is aerodynamic drag. The second marker is vibrational intolerance. This is a visceral, somatic rejection of your old environment. In the past, you could tolerate low-level gossip, cluttered rooms, or aimless conversations. You could sit through a dinner with people who drain you and just get through it. Suddenly, you can't. It doesn't feel like judgment anymore. It feels like an allergic reaction. You walk into a room and your skin crawls. You hear a friend complaining about the same problem for the 10th year in a row, and you feel a physical urge to run. You feel irritable, short-tempered, and agitated. Many people mistake this sensation for a mental health crisis. They go online and search for the spiritual meaning of anxiety, trying to diagnose why they suddenly feel so unsafe in familiar territory. But this isn't clinical anxiety. It is frequency mismatch. Go back to the water analogy. Water molecules at 211 degrees Fahrenheit are vibrating so violently that they can no longer maintain the bonds that held them together as a liquid. They literally cannot hang out with the cooler molecules anymore. They are too energetic to stay in the pool. You are experiencing this molecular rejection. You are vibrating at a frequency that is incompatible with your old container. That skin-crawling sensation is your energy body breaking the bonds of your old identity. Do not try to fix this irritability. Do not try to calm down and fit back in. You are supposed to be intolerant right now. You are boiling. The third marker is the 0-point void. This usually happens immediately after the entropy spike. It is the eerie silence that descends right before the active phase begins. You might notice that your phone stops ringing. The text messages dry up. New opportunities seem to vanish. You feel like you are screaming in a soundproof room. This is terrifying for the ego, because the ego relies on external validation to know it exists. When the feedback stops, the ego thinks it is dying. Physics tells us a different story. When you pull an arrow back against the bowstring, you create a moment of absolute stillness before the release. The tension is maximum, but the movement is zero. The universe is clearing the runway. It is removing the distractions, the noise, and the interference so that when the flashpoint occurs, you have a clear vector. The danger here is that you will try to fill the void. You will panic and start texting ex-partners, scrolling social media, or finding new distractions just to feel connected. Do not do this. That silence is the containment field. It is the final seal on your pressure vessel. If you fill the void with noise, you open the valve and leak your pressure. Sit in the silence. Let the pressure crush you. It is densifying your intent. Look at the pattern. The entropy spike disrupts your routine. Vibrational intolerance separates you from the wrong people. The 0-point void isolates you for the launch. Chaos, rejection, silence. If you have these three signs, you are not lost. You are on the launch pad. The countdown has already finished. You are just waiting for the ignition. Stop trying to calm down. The worst thing you can do right now is attempt to relax. Society tells you that anxiety is a malfunction, a glitch that needs to be smoothed over with deep breaths and peaceful thoughts. That is incorrect. In thermodynamics, if you cool down a system that is trying to boil, you reset the process. You kill the momentum. You are not here to cool off. You are here to cook. We are going to perform the kinetic compression protocol. This is not meditation. This is pressurization. We are not releasing energy. We are compacting it until it becomes a solid state of force. Sit up straight, spine vertical. This is your structural integrity. If the vessel is weak, the pressure blows the walls out. If the vessel is strong, the pressure drives the piston. Become the steel tank. Close your eyes. Phase 1 is the pressure audit. I want you to scan your physical body right now. Locate the sensation you have been calling anxiety. Where is it sitting? Is it a tightness in the solar plexus? A constriction in the throat? A heavy heat behind the eyes? Do not judge it. Do not try to push it away. Observe it like a scientist reading a gauge. That sensation is not fear. It is latent heat. It is raw, unassigned energy vibrating at a high frequency, looking for a way out. Feel the temperature of it. It feels hot because your molecules are vibrating faster than your current reality allows. Acknowledge it. Say to yourself, this is my fuel. Phase 2 is sealing the vessel. You are going to seal every leak in the system. Your eyes are closed to stop visual leaks. Your mouth is closed to stop verbal leaks. Now we seal the internal chamber. We are going to use compression breathing. Inhale through the nose for 4 seconds. Fill the lungs to capacity. Now do not exhale. Hold it. Squeeze the core muscles. Compress that air inside your chest. Feel the PSI rising. You are mimicking the conditions of a steam boiler. You are increasing the atmospheric pressure inside your body to force a state change. Hold the pressure. Feel the panic rising slightly. Good. That is the system realizing it is about to move. Exhale sharply. Phase 3 is alchemical heating. We are going to spike the temperature. Keep your eyes closed.
I want you to drag every ounce of frustration you have felt over the last 6 months into the center of your chest. The stagnation, the waiting, the projects that didn't move, the silence from the world, the feeling of screaming underwater. Do not push these memories away, throw them into the furnace. Visualize them as coal being shoveled into the fire. Feel the heat rise. Let your body vibrate.
If your hands shake, let them shake. If your heart races, let it race. You are approaching 100 degrees Celsius. You are converting suffering into steam. Do not vent this heat. Hold it. Let it build until it feels uncomfortable. That discomfort is the feeling of capacity expanding. You are building the force required to break the static friction of your life. Phase 4 is the directed piston. Keep that high-pressure state, do not lose the heat. Now brings to mind exactly one action, not a 5-year plan, not a complex strategy, just the one immediate high-friction step you have been avoiding. The phone call, the email, the workout, the script. See that action as the only exit valve in the entire room. All this pressure, all this heat, has only one place to go. Visualize a laser beam of pure steam shooting out from your chest, pushing that single action forward with violence. Lock onto that vector. You are no longer a person waiting for a miracle. You are a machine waiting for the operator to hit the switch. Open your eyes. Look at the room around you. Do you feel that? The silence isn't empty anymore. It's heavy. It's charged. You aren't anxious. You are loaded. You are a compressed spring. The active phase has begun. Now we need to give this pressure a command before it blows the engine. You have now generated the heat. You have felt the pressure build inside the containment vessel of your body. Most people reach this stage and immediately waste it. They feel the intensity of the flashpoint and mistake it for anxiety, so they panic and try to cool down. They go for a walk to clear their head. They call a friend to vent. They scroll through social media to numb the vibration. Do not do this. You are a kinetic architect now, and an architect respects the physics of pressure. If you vent the steam, you lose the torque. You must learn to operate the machinery of your life without blowing the gaskets. We are moving from the esoteric to the mechanical. There are 3 specific tools you must install in your operating system today to convert this massive potential energy into kinetic velocity. The first tool is the pressure audit. This is a tool of perception. You must understand the difference between leaking and building. In thermodynamics, a sealed vessel builds pressure that can move a train. A vessel with a pinhole leak just makes a loud hissing noise and stays stationary. You have been leaking your power. Every time you feel the discomfort of the stagnation, you look for an escape valve. You complain to your partner about how stuck you feel. You announce your big plans on social media to get a dopamine hit of validation. You distract yourself with low-level entertainment. These are leaks. They lower your internal PSI. They make you feel better in the moment because they relieve the pressure, but they kill your momentum. You are trading propulsion for comfort. From this moment on, you must audit your behavior. When the sensation of urgency or frustration hits you, stop. Ask yourself, am I leaking the steam, or am I putting it into the engine? If you are about to complain, stop. Swallow the words. Feel the pressure rise in your throat. That is fuel. If you are about to scroll, put the phone down. Feel the boredom burn. That is fuel. You must become a container that does not leak. Keep the energy inside until you can direct it at a specific target. The discomfort you feel is the gauge on the boiler reading maximum capacity. Do not fear it. Respect it. The second tool is the microburst protocol. This is your action mechanism. This is how you solve the problem of static friction. In physics, static friction is the force that keeps a stationary object at rest. It is always stronger than kinetic friction, which is the force of an object already in motion. This is why the first step is the hardest. You are fighting the maximum resistance of the universe right at the start. You do not need to push the car for 10 miles. You just need to break the static hold. This is where the microburst comes in. Most people look for motivation. They wait to feel like working. When you type how to get motivation back into a search bar, you are looking for a magical spark to override the friction. You do not need a spark. You need a mechanical valve release. The microburst is that valve. Here is the protocol. You set a timer for exactly 15 minutes. No more. You choose one high-friction task, the thing you have been avoiding, the thing that scares you. And for those 15 minutes, you attack it with 100% of your available intensity. You do not pace yourself. You do not worry about quality. You open the valve all the way. You treat it like a sprint, not a marathon. When the timer hits 0, you stop. This is critical. You must teach your nervous system that high-intensity output is safe and finite. If you force yourself to grind for hours, your brain will resist starting next time because it fears the exhaustion, but your brain can handle 15 minutes of chaos. Usually, once you break the static friction, the law of inertia takes over, and you will want to keep going. That is fine, but the commitment is only for the burst. This bypasses the need for motivation. You are not relying on feelings. You are relying on pulse propulsion. You are mechanically forcing the system to move. Identify that task right now. What is the one thing you have been terrified to touch? That is your target. You are going to hit it with a microburst immediately after this video ends. The third tool is the entropy container. This is an environmental safeguard. As you enter your active phase, things are going to get messy. This is the second law of thermodynamics. Entropy, or disorder, always increases in a closed system unless energy is applied to maintain order. But you have a limited supply of energy. If you use your energy to keep your house perfectly clean, your emails at 0, and your desktop organized, you have no energy left for the phase transition. You are using your steam to polish the engine instead of turning the wheels. You must give yourself permission to let the non-essential parts of your life devolve into chaos temporarily. This is the entropy container. You designate zones where disorder is allowed. Maybe your laundry piles up for a week. Let it. Maybe your kitchen is not spotless. Leave it. You are building a rocket, not running a museum. If you try to maintain perfect order in every area of your life while simultaneously trying to break through a massive internal plateau, you will burn out. You will suffer a structural failure. Define your zones. Where is it okay to be messy? Where is it okay to be slow? Protect your energy for the microburst. The people around you might not understand. They might ask why you are so scattered. Tell them you are allocating resources to the main thrusters. When a rocket launches, the launch pad gets scorched. That is the price of leaving the ground. Do not apologize for the smoke. These three tools work in a rhythm. You seal the leaks with the pressure audit to build your capacity. You release that pressure in controlled explosions with the microburst protocol to break static friction. And you use the entropy container to ensure you do not waste your fuel on maintenance when you should be spending it on velocity. This is the pulse and pause rhythm of the active phase. You are not working all the time. You are pressurizing, and then you are bursting. This is not about time management. This is about energy physics. You have spent enough time waiting. You have spent enough time analyzing your feelings. The analysis is done. The data is clear. You are sitting on a reservoir of latent heat that is screaming to be used. The only variable left in the equation is your willingness to open the valve. You are the kinetic architect. The blueprint is in your hands. The engine is hot. It is time to engage the gears. Take a deep breath. Do you feel that? The frequency has changed. You are no longer the same entity that clicked on this video 40 minutes ago. When you arrived here, you were heavy with the weight of potential, categorized as stagnation. You felt the crushing density of the water around you, believing you were drowning when in reality you were pressurizing. You have now successfully redefined your suffering. You understand that the silence was not abandonment. It was the sealing of the vessel. You understand that the anxiety was not fear. It was the accumulation of latent heat. You have stopped trying to vent the steam to feel comfortable, and you have started compressing it to become dangerous. You have completed the thermodynamic cycle of preparation. But now, we face a new problem, a problem of physics that is far more volatile than the stagnation you just escaped. You are about to move. And in the world of mechanics, movement introduces a variable you have not had to deal with while you were sitting still. That variable is velocity. The active phase you have been begging for is not a vacation. It is a launch. And here is the brutal truth about launches. They are violent. A steam engine sitting in the station is safe. It is heavy, hot, and impressive, but it is safe. A steam engine barreling down the tracks at maximum velocity is a projectile. The moment you release this pressure you have built, the moment you engage that microburst protocol and vector this energy into the real world, you are no longer dealing with the laws of statics. You are dealing with the laws of dynamics. You have spent months, maybe years, wishing for speed. But velocity without a steering mechanism is just a crash waiting to happen. I need you to understand the gravity of this transition. When you were stuck, your biggest risk was rust. Now that you are moving, your biggest risk is derailment. The heat you have accumulated is powerful enough to propel you into a completely new reality, but it is also powerful enough to burn out your nervous system if you do not respect the mechanical limits of your chassis. This is where most people fail. They survive the boil. They survive the pressure. They finally reach the flashpoint. They explode into action, and then they disintegrate. They treat the active phase like a sprint, burning all their fuel in the first 10 seconds of flight only to crash back down to Earth, colder and more broken than before. They do not understand that the goal of the flashpoint is not just to explode. It is to achieve orbit. Think of the rocket. The energy required to leave the atmosphere is immense. It fights gravity, air resistance, and atmospheric drag. The vibration is intense. The heat is critical. This is where you are right now. You are shaking on the launch pad. But once the rocket clears the atmosphere, the physics change again. It enters a state of flow. The resistance drops to zero. The noise stops. It travels at Mach 20 in total silence. That is the destination. That is the difference between a manic episode and sustained momentum. You are currently holding the energy of a bomb. I want you to turn it into an engine. To do that, you need to understand the next set of laws. You need to understand aerodynamics. You need to understand how to navigate friction without losing speed. You need to understand how to steer a projectile that is moving faster than your ability to think. This leads us to the law of inertia. Newton's first law states that an object in motion stays in motion unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. This is your greatest ally and your worst enemy. Right now, your inertia is zero. You are fighting to start. That is why everything feels so hard. That is why the latent heat is necessary. But once you start, once you hit that first microburst, once you see that first result, once the steam hits the piston, you will have momentum. Momentum is a jealous god. It requires constant feeding, but it hates interruption. The tragedy of the active phase is that people get scared of their own speed. They feel the G-force of their life changing, and they panic. They tap the brakes. They look for a rest stop. They think, I've done enough for today, I'll take a break. Do not do this. In thermodynamics, stopping a moving train takes exponentially more energy than keeping it moving. If you let your boiler cool down now, if you vent your pressure because the speed scares you, you will solidify back into ice. You will have to repeat this entire agonizing heating process all over again. You cannot afford that caloric cost. You are too old for another 5 years of stagnation. You are too wise to go back to the deep freeze. You need to learn how to sustain the burn without melting the engine. You need to learn the physics of high-velocity maintenance. You need to know how to refuel while moving at the speed of sound. This is not about motivation anymore. Motivation is for amateurs who are trying to start. You are a professional who is trying to steer. There is a specific feeling that comes next. It is not anxiety, and it is not excitement. It is a cold, hyper-focused clarity. It is the feeling of the pilot who has broken the sound barrier. The shaking stops. The world outside your window blurs into lines of light. You are no longer pushing, you are flowing. But getting to that silence requires you to hold the throttle open when every instinct in your biology is screaming at you to slow down. You're about to enter a zone of high entropy. Your schedule will break. Your old relationships will not be able to track your new frequency. You will leave people behind, not because you are cruel, but because of the Doppler effect. You are moving at a velocity they cannot perceive. You must be ready for this. You must be ready to be the lone object in orbit, at least for a while. So how do you steer? How do you ensure that this flashpoint becomes a permanent shift in your baseline reality, and not just a temporary explosion? You need the schematics for the next stage of flight. You need to understand how to manipulate the law of inertia to work for you, so that effort becomes obsolete and momentum takes over. You need to learn why stopping is more dangerous than crashing. In the next video, we are going to deconstruct the physics of momentum. We are going to look at why momentum is fragile, why you must protect it with your life, and how to build a navigational system that can handle your new horsepower. We are going to teach you how to fly. If you are ready to stop building the rocket and start piloting it, you need to subscribe right now. You have built a dangerous machine today. Do not walk away from the controls. Click subscribe to ensure you don't crash the vessel you just spent so much agony constructing. Listen to me closely. The pressure you feel in your chest right now, that tightness you have been labeling as anxiety, that is not a symptom of a disease. That is the hum of a reactor coming online. It is the vibrational signature of potential energy converting into kinetic power. Do not meditate it away. Do not drug it away. Do not talk it away. Use it. Your stuckness was just the loading phase. The atmosphere is clearing. The countdown is at 0. The valve is open. Let it burn.